Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, A DIY Like Today. Today we're going to be discussing or going over the 10 top pantry items I would recommend for a gluten-free diet. So if you happen to be new to the gluten-free diet, if you've been recently diagnosed with celiac disease, or you've become gluten intolerant and notice that you have some digestive issues and want to make some changes, these are the top 10 go-to pantry items I would recommend to have in your pantry starting out. So let's get to it. First off, I'm going to recommend an all-purpose flour. This is for general baking of any kind of sweets, cookies, biscuits, cakes, or anything like that. But this at least is a go-to for you to start, a kind of a starting off point, as we should say. Next, we're going to go to another baking flour, which is known as a 1-to-1. A 1-to-1 is basically kind of similar to the all-purpose baking flour, except for the fact that you can exchange it for any gluten-based recipes. So if you happen to have a favorite cookie recipe and it's not gluten-free, you can actually take this 1-to-1 flour and substitute it for the gluten flour that's in the recipe. I hope that makes sense. So 1-to-1 to change it out and make it gluten-free. Next, we're gonna go on to, let me see, alternative gluten-free flour. So here, I've got buckwheat and a coconut flour. So I would always also recommend having alternative gluten-free flours on hand. So here, this is a couple that you can kind of like go to and stock in your pantry shelf, so that if the recipe is calling for more than one kind of flour, you have a couple to choose from. Next, we're going to go on to an alternative sugar, and this is a coconut sugar. Coconut sugar has so many benefits, and it's really great to have in your pantry. It's kind of a combination of your brown sugar and your white sugar, except a much healthier version. So I would also consider this a pantry staple. Next, we're going to go with xanthan gum. Xanthan gum is a stabilizer slash thickener. It's kind of an ingredient that helps your recipe be nice and fluffy. You know, this is one of the key ingredients that will help your recipes stabilize and be more fluffy and airy and more, possibly leaning towards the regular gluten recipes that you're now giving up and moving to an alternative. So I would probably go with an unsweetened coconut. I feel like a lot of recipes that you're baking with that call for a coconut already have a lot of sweetness to them, whether it be in a condensed milk or your sugar. So I feel like an unrefined, organic, unsweetened coconut it's great. It's great for on your yogurt, it's great for in your recipes. Next, we're going to go with some starches. So whenever you happen to be making gravies or maybe making your own gluten-free flour recipe, it will call for some form of starch. So here we've got Bob's Red Mill tapioca starch, or a cornstarch. Either of them will work great, and they're also, like I said, great for thickening gravies or thickening soups, or thickening in general. If you're used to using flour in the past, this will, is a couple of alternatives for you to have. Next, we're going to go with your baking powder. Now, as you can see on this baking powder, it says gluten-free. Is that anything that is labeled specifically gluten-free? It means that the FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, or CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, it comes from a facility that has been inspected by these governing bodies for food, health, and safety. So if you have something that is labeled gluten-free, then it is guaranteed to be in a facility, produced in a facility, that there is no cross-contamination that is possible. When you're out doing any of your gluten-free shopping, you can take that into consideration, not just with your baking and pantry items, but with all of the foods that you happen to buy that are labeled gluten-free. It means that they come from a facility that there's no cross-contamination, and that there's not other things in the facility or allergens that could set off an upset belly, or that you would have a reaction with. So Let's move on to pantry staple number 8. I would have to go with Choc Chips. You can never have too many Choc Chips. I mean, if you happen to be making hot cocoa, banana nut muffins, chocolate chip cookies, I feel like chocolate chips is a pantry staple. Number 10 on our list today of pantry staples I would recommend would be a cocoa. I absolutely love the Hershey's cocoa, mainly because the only ingredient in it is cocoa powder. So I have found in my search of cocos and cocoa powders that there's a lot of fillers, and that there's things like sulfites and other things that are added that I know for me personally definitely set off some allergic reactions. So there you have it, our 10 pantry staples. I hope that you find this beneficial. If you do, make sure you hit the like button and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified when we have other uploaded videos. And thank you so much for joining me today. Bye-bye!